he crashed on his debut lap. Now, he's replacing Sergio Perez. Red Bull has just confirmed Isack Hadjar as Max Verstappen's new teammate for 2026. F1 fans are in disbelief. A rookie with no wins, no podiums, now driving the fastest car on the grid. Subscribe right now, because this isn't just a shock move, it could change everything about Red Bull's future. The Red Bull Racing Garage has just dropped a bombshell that's already shaking the paddock. Isack Hadjar, a driver who began the 2025 season with Racing Bulls and was once criticized for crashing on a formation lap, has now been confirmed as Max Verstappen's teammate for 2026. It's official, it's public, and it's already sparking the kind of division we haven't seen since the Ricciardo-Verstappen pairing of the late 2010s. Red Bull made the announcement just days before the final Grand Prix of the 2025 season in Abu Dhabi. With Sergio Perez exiting after a turbulent campaign, and Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda both failing to consistently deliver at Racing Bulls, the energy drink giant went back to its roots: raw talent, youth, and risk. Isack Hadjar has now leapfrogged both into one of the most coveted but cutthroat seats in Formula One. What's even more stunning is how rapidly Hadjar turned his reputation around. At the start of the season, his crash in Australia on the formation lap had many labeling him unprepared for F1. But inside Red Bull, there was a different view. They saw pace. They saw confidence under pressure. And as the season progressed, Hadjar began out-qualifying Lawson and delivering mid-pack results in a car that had no business fighting the top 10. But this isn't just about race results, it's about the timing. Red Bull is preparing for the most radical regulation reset since the hybrid era began. With the 2026 technical changes on the horizon, including an entirely new power unit from Red Bull powertrains and aerodynamic shifts that could change the pecking order overnight, Christian Horner and Helmut Marko made the call to bring in a driver who could adapt quickly and who doesn't carry years of bad habits from the old cars. From a strategic standpoint, Red Bull wants a fresh pairing to match their new hardware. Verstappen is the undisputed leader, but with Hadjar alongside him, they get a driver who knows how to learn fast, race hard, and obey instructions, something that will be crucial as the team tries to balance car development with title defense. The Hadjar-Verstappen dynamic could turn explosive, but Red Bull believes it will keep Max sharp and the garage energized. Internally, the decision wasn't without debate. There were voices inside the Red Bull system pushing for Lawson's consistency or even a return to Ricciardo's experience. But in the end, Hadjar's raw potential shown especially during his wet weather drive at Zandvoort, where he nearly snatched a podium, proved too valuable to ignore. The team believes that if Hadjar can survive the pressure, he might become Red Bull's next long-term investment. So now the stage is set. One of the most dominant drivers in F1 history will share a garage with a 21-year-old rookie who still has more questions than answers. And with 2026 being a year of unknowns across the grid, Red Bull is betting big that their bold move will pay off. Whether it ends in glory or chaos, one thing is clear: this isn't a safe choice. It's a statement. When the Red Bull senior management sat down to review the 2025 season, the numbers did not favor experience. In head-to-head qualifying over the final 9 races, Isack Hadjar outpaced Liam Lawson 6 times and Yuki Tsunoda 7. More importantly, he consistently performed within 0.3 of the theoretical lap time generated by Red Bull's simulator, a metric the team uses to track driver optimization and consistency under pressure. It was a signal of not just pace, but learning speed. In high-degradation circuits like Barcelona and Mexico City, Hadjar showed surprising tire management, running long stints with minimal drop-off, a critical skill given how sensitive the 2026 cars are expected to be to tire load and energy recovery. While Tsunoda often burned through rear tires under heavy acceleration, Hadjar's throttle mapping was smoother, a trait that drew direct praise from Red Bull engineers involved in chassis development. One of the tipping points came during Red Bull's mid-season simulation correlation test in Austria. Hadjar, along with Tsunoda and Lawson, ran extensive sessions in both the simulator and a modified RB20 test chassis. While all three showed strong feedback, Hadjar's inputs aligned closest with Verstappen's, particularly in mid-corner balance adjustments and energy deployment management. This gave the engineers confidence that Verstappen and Hadjar could develop the 2026 RB22 in tandem, without conflicting feedback. Then came the Zandvoort wet race. Hadjar's P4 finish in soaked conditions, after starting P12, stunned the paddock. His racecraft was sharp, his tire calls matched the team's pit wall strategy without drama, and he overtook Alonso and Sainz on track not through undercuts or safety cars, but through clean, clinical moves. In contrast, Tsunoda spun twice, and Lawson finished out of the points. It wasn't just a good race, it was the kind of performance that made Red Bull think, he's ready. Red Bull also analyzed off-track behavior. In internal debriefs, Hadjar showed a clear ability to absorb post-race feedback and translate it into tangible performance changes, something the team said Tsunoda struggled with even in his third full season. While Lawson remained a steady hand, his ceiling appeared lower in Red Bull's performance simulations. The team needed someone who could push Verstappen, not just support him. Hadjar's work ethic also played a role. During flyaway races, while most drivers flew home early, Hadjar often stayed an extra day at the factory or simulator base. Engineers noted that he logged more sim hours in the second half of the season than any other junior driver. For Red Bull, a team obsessed with marginal gains, that commitment carried weight. It wasn't just about talent. It was about effort. Finally, internal projections for 2026 suggested a steeper learning curve than any regulation change in the last decade. With the MGU-H being eliminated and new chassis-to-power unit integration challenges on the horizon, Red Bull believed Hadjar's aggressive, instinctive style would benefit them more than the cautious, risk-averse approach they had seen from Tsunoda. In short, Hadjar might crash once, but he'll learn faster than anyone else. And that's exactly what Red Bull wants in the Verstappen era. The 2026 Red Bull RB22 will be unlike any car the team has produced. For the first time in the modern hybrid era, Red Bull will be designing and building its entire power unit in-house, in collaboration with Ford. Gone is the MGU-H, long used to harvest heat energy from the turbo. In its place, a more aggressive MGU-K system that will produce over 350 kilowatts of deployable electrical power. For drivers like Isack Hadjar, that means adapting to a power unit with completely different throttle response, energy maps, and liftoff behavior. This shift will impact how the car behaves in critical zones, particularly corner exits and braking phases. Without the smoothing effect of the MGU-H, turbo lag returns as a factor. That's something the younger generation of drivers have never dealt with in Formula One. Hadjar will have to relearn throttle modulation to avoid wheel spin, especially when recovering energy on corner exit. Verstappen, who has already tested early powertrain prototypes, has said the car feels more alive but also harder to tame. Then comes the aerodynamics. With active aero returning to Formula One in 2026, drivers will now have to manage a system similar to DRS but far more complex. Front and rear wings will adjust dynamically based on speed, brake input, and steering angle. For Hadjar, mastering this system means learning how to balance mid-corner instability with straight-line efficiency. Drivers who cannot predict the aero balance in real time will lose time, or worse, control. Red Bull's design philosophy has always demanded precision at the limit. Adrian Newey's cars are notoriously sensitive, brilliant in clean air, but brutal to drive in dirty conditions. Hadjar must adapt quickly to narrow operating windows, both thermally and mechanically. Any overdriving, particularly in qualifying, will punish him more than it would in midfield machinery like the Racing Bulls car he debuted in. What adds even more pressure is the fact that Hadjar's teammate is arguably the greatest driver of the current era. Verstappen's ability to extract consistent lap times from unpredictable setups is unmatched. Red Bull doesn't expect Hadjar to beat Max, but they do expect him to contribute meaningfully in setup feedback, tire testing, and power unit calibration. If he cannot learn that side of the job quickly, Red Bull's development pace could suffer. Compounding the challenge is that the RB22 will debut with a significantly altered weight distribution. To meet new safety and battery placement regulations, the 2026 chassis will feature a heavier rear bias. That changes how the car behaves under trail braking and limits front-end bite, something that directly impacts how Hadjar prefers to rotate the car mid-corner. He's known for an aggressive turn-in and late braking style, which will need refinement under this new architecture. Lastly, the tire philosophy will also shift. Pirelli's 2026 compounds are designed for higher slip angles and lower thermal peaks, encouraging drivers to slide more, but punishing overuse with rapid degradation. Hadjar will need to develop a much finer sense of tire preservation, especially on longer stints where Verstappen already excels. In short, the technical leap from 2025 to 2026 is more than a rulebook rewrite. It's a total redefinition of driving style, and Hadjar's future depends on how fast he adapts.